My name is Prewitt. I am a personal trainer and online coach. I like to help people who are injured or have injuries or are stressed or burned out and help them overcome it and to achieve their goals. And I like to do this through a holistic approach because you're not just a physical body, you're also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually all encompassing into one being. Are you just bad? Bad. Are you just one bad? Run, movement, I don't know, workout class away from a snap, crackle, pop, aka an injury that's going to set you back. A lot of people think that injuries are just the process of getting older. It's like you're a badge of right. And yes, as we get older, we're just more likely to have an injury occur. But just because you're getting older doesn't mean you should accept the fact that injuries are a common thing to happen all the time. What a lot of people like to do to prevent injuries, and there's nothing wrong with it, is to stretch, foam roll, cold plunge, you name it, pretty much anything you can think of to do to prevent. Oh yeah, they'll watch like videos, right? They'll watch YouTube videos. They'll listen to podcasts. People like me who think they know everything, but I don't. I promise you, I don't know everything. But here's the thing that nobody tells them. Injury prevention is not what you do or what you avoid, is actually how much your body can handle. And what I mean by handle, how much load it can handle or stress. When you look at your body's total load or total stress, you need to look at it in 4 different ways: mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. There's a paper done in British Journal of Sports Medicine that trainers don't really mention. And it's the fact that if you increase or just do a huge increase in rapid loads too quickly on non-contact athletes, that's when injuries are most likely to occur. And that's what's responsible for most injuries. No, it has nothing to do with your age. It may, but 99.9% of the time has nothing to do with your age. It has to do with the fact that your body can't handle that quick, increase in stress or physical load, mental, emotional, spiritual. We'll get into all that. The first one is mental load. Visualization. Visualization is pretty cool. A lot of people use it. I personally have as well. And visualization, there's a lot of study that has been done. Visualization, if you don't know what that is just thinking about what you're going to do before you do it. And your body doesn't correlate the difference between the two. And what I mean by the two, between yes, I said that word correct, mentally versus doing it physically. And a really cool thing that happens is those same neurological pathways in our brains are activated for the physical one when we visualize doing something, which is pretty cool when you think about it, especially if you're an athlete or if you're someone who just wants to get better working out in the gym or whatever form of physical activity you do. When done correctly and with intention, it boosts coordination. It boosts your ability to master form and execution. It sharpens timing. And it builds confidence. Like I said, I've done this in my past as well too. And I do this with my clients. I help them kind of see how things flow with their body. But when I was playing a ton of tennis, and when I mean ton, I would eat, breathe, dream, sleep, work, everything tennis. And my coach at the time was like, hey, I need you to watch these YouTube videos on serves because your serve is good, but when I mean your serve, only your flat serve, your kick, your slice, she can be better. And I agreed. And I'm telling you, I would listen to these videos and they would play as I was falling asleep. And yeah, it did work, but it would only work to an extent because what I didn't realize is when you're constantly ruminating or looping things in your brain, that is mentally exhausting. And your body doesn't know the difference between mental load and then actual hey, we're doing this right now, physical load. And I like to call this mental masturbation. Yeah, except for the thing is there's no orgasmic relief. There's no there's nothing and it sucks. And that's what happens when you're mentally tasking your body, or not your body, your body, but your brain all the time. It's important to use this tool, this technique, whatever you want to say it, but like I said, with purpose and intention. So kind of like with work, you should be able to be like, I'm driving in my car, I'm mentally preparing, and then when you walk through those doors, flick that light switch off. Hey, I'm in work mode now. Turn it off and you're like, boom, we in chill mode. Don't talk to me. I don't want to do anything with this job. It should be like that if you're using any mental techniques. But without a grounded foundation, underneath all that mental energy, you'll still feel off, like out of balance. That brings me to the second point, which is spiritual load. Not a lot of people talk about this, and I think it's probably one of the most important things we should talk about when it comes to injury prevention. It's a strain that we carry when we feel disconnected from our values, from God or whoever your higher power is, or just not being grounded spiritually in the present moment. The solution, you ask, for me personally, I call this grounding myself. Is you'll literally see me out and about with no shoes on, walking around barefoot, because I'm trying to connect with Mother Nature, with Earth, because her magnetic field will enter my magnetic field. She will help me heal. But that's a topic for another day. Also, I like to pray, meditate, I'll journal. I'll listen to 4D music, which is really cool. If you haven't heard of that, go onto like Spotify or YouTube. Hello, we're on YouTube right now. Put on earbuds and it feels like it's just swirling in your brain and it just feels amazing. Try that. I'm not gonna lie, this definitely sounds woohoo, and I'm totally cool with it. I've been on the woohoo train, and I've fallen off of the woohoo train with, I don't know, in the Grand Canyon and exploded. I went off that deep end. But science does back this up. When you look at your HRV will correlate with how grounded you are. And also, it shows us studies when you are grounded with lowering cortisol. And when your cortisol is lowered, your inflammation is lowered. You're less likely, A, to get an injury, but also if you already have one, like for example, wounds, it can speed up that process because your body's not trying to fight the inflammation. It can focus and shift its intention on healing. When we reconnect or disconnect spiritually, our body doesn't have to feel guarded 24/7, which is going back to the whole cortisol and inflammation. It means our body feels safe. It can let go. And it can do what it needs to do to be present and to heal. Which brings me to another point. If you are spiritually stressed or if your spirit is stressed, your fascia will be stressed too. And what fascia is just connective tissue that's throughout your entire body. Think of it like a sheath, this white sheath throughout your entire body. And it affects everything and even affects your central nervous system. And my analogy is, let's pretend you had a bowl and you had saran wrapped over it and it's like nice and smooth, right? But you're trying to get into whatever is in that bowl. So you take the saran wrap off, you crumble it up, put it down, take what you need, and you're like, okay, well, now I need to put the saran wrap back on. You're like, okay. So you take it, but you don't unravel it, and you just place it in the bowl. Well, it's not going to work, right? And that's kind of like what our fascia is. If we don't uncrumble it, take out all the little ripples and whatnot, our bodies, our muscles are kind of fixed and stuck. It's not fluid, it's solid, it's tight. It's going to cause muscular imbalances, all these things, but it's going to affect your central nervous system. And that long term is not good. And it's not going to allow your body to move in the way that it should move or just in a fluid motion. Boom. But even spiritual grounding won't get you so far. If you're emotionally flooded, your body can't buffer that stress. This brings me to the third point, which is emotional load. Most people don't realize emotionally how much that affects our bodies, how we regulate, manage, and just stay injury-free. Stress, yeah, it's in our head, but it's also throughout our entire body, and we can pinpoint exactly what emotions are correlated with specific areas of our body, which is cool. Definitely a topic we can talk about another day. I'm sure as you've noticed, when you're emotionally overwhelmed, you might have a migraine, your heart rate speeds up, you're out of breath, you start sweating, your muscles feel tense, your jaws are just like super, super tight. There's a lot of signs our body will tell us when we just can't handle it emotionally anymore. One of the best ways to check if emotionally your body can't handle things and you're trying to prevent injuries is to monitor your HRV. And your HRV is just your heart rate variability. It's just like the small little, so like my heart rate goes do-do, do-do. It's just like that little do-doots, do-doots. It's that time in between the two, and if the changes between those two times, that's just what it is. And I wear a Fitbit, and I literally got this to make sure, am I recovering? Because, for example, it goes on a scale of 0 to 100. 100 is like, boom, you're perfect, you're amazing, you can do whatever you want. To 0 being like, you need to lay in bed, like, this is not good. And for the longest time, I didn't have a car, and I would bike everywhere, and I would wake up and being like, hey, I don't know how many calories I need in a day, and I hurt, and my quads feel like balloons are about to pop any moment, And I was like, I need to know if I'm recovering. And every day I wake up, be like 0, 0, 0. And I was just like, man, I'm killing myself. So I got it because not only is it going to help me, but it's going to help my clients. And so where you want to be is at least minimum 65 and above. If you're 65 and above, that tells me you can do what you have planned for the day. You can go whatever plan you were doing. If that's a workout plan, if that's, hey, I go to Pilates 3 times a week, or I'm doing a run with a friend, then do it. But if you're anything below, you got to pivot. And that could be doing nothing. It could be stretching, foam rolling, a massage, those things we talked about earlier today to help. Otherwise, if you're 65 and below, well, the next day you might be at 55 and then 45. And then welcome to the 0 club with me. Yeah, you don't want to do that because that's where an injury will occur. I also teach my clients this too. If that's in person or virtually online, I'll ask them, how are you feeling? What is your body telling you today? And according to what they tell me, even though I may have a plan and this is what I would like to do, I might have to deviate from that plan. And that's the whole point, is to listen to our bodies, or for me to listen to my clients so I can help them long term. Because the last thing I want to do with their trust is they get hurt or they get burnt out or whatever. And then what's been pretty cool too is sometimes whenever like we have a check-in, they'll come to me and they'll just go, brrrr. And I'm like, all right, cool. Thanks for telling me. Now they're getting it. Now they're understanding what their body needs before I even get to ask them. And that's where the magic is. Because now they're understanding that, oh, it's not just physically how I'm feeling. It's physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. When you have all of those together, then yes, you're less likely to acquire an injury, but most importantly, achieve your goals. Think of it like this. Emotional stress is physical stress, or emotional recovery is physical recovery. But even when your mind is clear, your spirit is grounded, and your emotions are regulated, you still need a very strong physical foundation. This brings me to the 4th point, which is physical load. And this is the one that everyone talks about, physical load, because it's the one that's most tangible and easier to do and to practice on a daily basis. Let's pretend you got some hip things going on. So you're probably going to focus on foam rolling your hips, taking a lacrosse ball, putting into your psoas. Oh, IT band. Everyone got a thing for an IT band, man. We got to roll those out. It's the IT. But in actuality, sometimes it's not even like what you're trying to focus on. It's something like completely opposite of what you think you need to focus on to fix, for this instance, hip pain. And I like to think of our bodies like a tree. And what do trees start from besides a C? Well, they're roots. And those roots are like our feet. And so the more shallow, the more fragile, weak these roots are. If a storm were to occur, like I live in Texas, if a tornado would come, it'd be like the first thing out of the ground, because there was nothing, the foundation was just not there. Like building a castle on sand versus rock. Like if it's on sand, man, that sucks for you. But for example, I had a client who had knee problems, and he literally did everything, quote unquote, you should do. He saw experts, he got stretches, massages, electrotherapy, he did dry needling, but nothing worked long term. He got that temporary relief, but it would just come back over and over and over again. And so when he came to me and I was just like, hey bro, hey, I'm a little woohoo, and I want to try something new with you, and I want to check out your feet. And it turned out he had flat feet. And if our feet are like roots of a tree, well, his foundation was not that strong. And so what we did is basic little things. We started toe spreads, toe curls with a towel. We strengthened his arch, his ankle mobility, his flexibility. And then, over, I think it was like 4 to 6 weeks, the knee pain went away. And that was pretty cool. And then we just started working our way up from the feet to the ankle, to knees, hips, so on and so forth, until that tree was solid as a rock. Well, I guess, I don't know, the rock solidified or the tree did. Now we can really push hard and we can build muscle, and he's able to, it's pretty actually really cool watching his body transform into something he's only visualized, and now he's actually getting to see it, and he's had to buy new clothes because he's like, this whole new body, man. It's completely different, and I'm getting strong. So essentially, his feet, instead of his knee, was able to withhold the physical load he was putting onto his body. And that was preventing injuries from reoccurring over and over and over again. Yeah, that's the power of training your roots. Because no matter how grounded your spirit is or emotionally regulated your emotions are, if your physical foundation is unstable, then the whole system is just going to collapse, kind of like that castle in the sand analogy. And that's why true injury prevention requires a whole person's, like, you got to view the person as a whole. Like, you got to put a different lens on. So the physical lens, you got to put on physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual lens as well, too. Instance, does stretching help? Does massaging help? Does cold plunges help? Dry needling, cupping? Yes. All those things do help, but they're not the main reason. If you keep on getting stuck or injured, or most importantly, you get injured, you feel good, same injury, and it keeps on repeating, like your body's clearly telling you something is up. And to listen to that, because something else is probably going on. Injuries don't happen because you're weak or you're inflexible. They happen because your system is just too overloaded, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Your nervous system is legit it's burnt out, man. And you do all the stretches in the world. If you're burnt out, you're burnt out. And you definitely can't foam your way out of emotional overload. So if you're doing quote unquote everything that you should do and you're still getting tweaks, the aches, the injuries keep on popping up, and you're just not getting the progress that you want, listen to your body. It's telling you something. You don't need more drills. You don't need more exercises. You don't need new shiny, fancy, cool things or gadgets. You need a new lens. Book a free one-on-one online consultation with me, and I can help you by putting on that lens what you need to do in order to get you from A to B, or just where you want to get to your goals, and see where along those lines, if it's mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, we need to tweak to get you to that goal. Like I said, it's in the link below. And that way, all the energy and all the time and effort you're putting into is going to something that's going to propel you to your future versus derail you. And you're just constantly stuck in this burnout cycle or this injury cycle. So let's build a body that's actually good for you and not one that's fighting against you.